what it means to be a student. Learning to live on your own, managing a tight budget, gradually building a future. However, in 2025, the stage of life has changed profoundly, as studying has never been so difficult. Today, in France, there are more than 2.9 million students. However, behind this impressive figure, a less visible reality persists, since more and more of them have to work alongside the studies to support themselves. According to a recent study by l'INSEE, more than 1 in 2 students now combine classes with a job, often for an income that is even insufficient to live on with dignity. This additional burden has a direct impact on their success. Fatigue, stress, dropping out, these are all consequences that set in, especially during exam periods. So what should be a period of learning becomes, for some, a daily struggle to keep up. Financial aid does exist, of course, it's even named CROUS. But unfortunately, it only reaches a minority, since only about 662,000 students receive a grant, a figure that has fallen by 17,000 since 2015, as a result of gradually tightening eligibility criteria. As a result, many students caught between overly strict threshold and growing economic pressure find themselves without support. For many, working becomes the only option to get by, but this solution can quickly become an obstacle to their success, especially when the schedule are not compatible with their studies.
First, there is Garance, an information and communication student, to which we asked a few questions.
I work beside my studies since maybe 1 or 2 years. I've been working because I decided to leave my father's apartment. So I had to work in order to live by myself because he doesn't have the money to answer my needs. So I had to work in order to pay the loan. Like I said, because the weekends are taken by the work, you need to study during the week. And so when you've got big projects, you're obligated to do it during the afternoons, even during the night. I've done many works really late, or I've given some works late because I didn't have the time. And you've got the need to make your studies become more important than your job. But if you don't go to your job because of your studies, you lose it, and then how do you live? Complicated, because as I said, you've got to really equilibrate, balance your two lives. You've got to study, then go to work, then go to study, then go to work, and you don't have a time when you don't think of anything. You're always thinking about what do I have to do next week before I work, when do I work, and because I want to work in order to get my Erasmus easily, I've got to work like 2 times more. And
Yabaka is also familiar with the situation, but she was forced to make a choice.
Yes, I do. I've been working since I graduated high school because I'm an international student and I live far from my family. I have to pay for my daily expenses and my studies, so I don't really have a choice. I don't have much free time. When I don't have class, I'm usually working, so it's tiring. Yes, a lot. It probably depends on the job, but I mostly worked in restaurants. I finished late at night and had much less time than my classmates to study or work on assignments. And it can be really challenging, and sometimes you feel close to burnout or depression, but I can't stop working because I don't get financial help and I need to support myself. And yes, it definitely affects my mental health, stress, pressure, sacrifices. And in my case, on top of paying my own expenses, I also send money to my parents, and it's even harder. Sometimes I just break down and cry, and then I pick myself back up because I don't have another choice.
Since the COVID situation and through the policies of recent presidencies, it has never been so difficult to be a student. These testimonies we've heard only confirm what we mentioned earlier, a daily struggle to juggle studies, work, and rising living costs. And ambition. In this system, students are often the first to feel the impact. So one question remains: how can we truly support them throughout this stage of life? Beyond scholarships, many resources are still underused, like emergency aid, solidarity grocery stores, psycho checks, university support funds, and much more. Bringing them to light is already a first step, because behind every statistic, there are stories, hopes, and mostly students simply trying to build their future peacefully.